a Sapphire Running Zone podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Tim from the Sapphire Running Zone and welcome to this podcast on event organisation. So we're delighted today to be welcomed by Warrick, who is in Dubai, and obviously it's an interesting time in Dubai at the moment. It's March the 4th we're recording this, and Warrick is likely to be slightly distracted by jets flying overhead amongst other things. Warrick, great to have you with us. Really appreciate you joining us today. So just give us a bit of your background, your events, and then we'll talk in more detail about how events are organised, the costs involved, and why runners have to pay a certain amount to enter.
Yeah, Tim, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, definitely interesting times here in the Middle East, and in the UAE. But yeah, a little bit about me. So Warrick Mac Nicol, South African, been in the UAE and Dubai for the last 9 years. I now call Dubai home, very proudly so. And yeah, my world has basically been sports and sports events. I was very fortunate from the age of 14 to start racing semi-professionally in a multiple array of sports, from running, cycling, triathlons, all of that. And then one of my partners actually owned the races back in South Africa, and I used to work with him on the races, putting them on, and then actually race the race myself and then help pack up the race. So I came into the eventing world from a very young age and have basically been a part of that journey my whole entire life, whether racing or from an event organizer perspective. I then came over to Dubai, like I said, 9 years ago, where I came over as like a manager of a smaller event agency here. Created a couple of events around Dubai, mainly on the running side. And then COVID hit, went back to South Africa, lost everything, started again, came back to Dubai, and then was very fortunate to have the opportunity of activating the Dubai Ride and Run, which, for anyone that doesn't know, it's the Dubai Run is a run now of 375,000 runners on Sheikh Zayed Road. So yeah, I had the opportunity of basically helping build the operations and the logistics around that event. And then after actually hosting one of the events, we sat down with Dubai Tourism for a dinner, and Sally, one of the ladies, asked me what was next. And I told her about the dream of Burj to Burj, which I'd been working on for 2-3 years in the background, just trying to build the brand, build the concept idea. And she just said, go, you need to do this. Yeah, I was actually on my way to Saudi Arabia. I got a job opportunity in Saudi Arabia. And at my farewell, one of my best friends, Luke, said to me, don't go. Let's start a business together. We've been wanting to do this for ages. So 3 years later, Burj to Burj is now probably Dubai, the Middle East's biggest running event, actually mass participation paid sports event. And in our third edition, 15,000 runners or 16,000 entries. And yeah, we've got Ultra Trail Dubai, which we launched this year now for the first time. And yeah, an obstacle course race in Antarctica. So exciting times. Obviously, nerve-wracking times is what's going on at the moment. But yeah, honestly, really, really privileged to have these events and just do what I love, really.
Sounds fantastic. So Burj to Burj. So tell us the course. I mean, for those that don't know Dubai, they're a couple of pretty major buildings, aren't they? So talk us through that route.
Yeah, so basically our concept and our brand is about iconicness, trying to create events. I don't call them events, I call them experiences. So create experiences between iconic locations or in iconic destinations. And what I originally thought was, why not start with our home now, which is the UAE, which is Dubai. I was running on the beach track and I looked up and it was Burj Khalifa. Turned around, it was Burj Al Arab. I'm like, this is perfect. Why is no one doing this? Looked at a marathon route. Obviously, the Dubai Marathon is very much an event in Dubai. It's been running for 35 years, I think it is now. And the half marathon opportunity was open. And I've always liked the half marathon distance because it's more accessible to everyone. So came up with the route, presented it to RTA Police and Sports Council, got the green light. And yeah, the first year of the event was actually running from the Burj Al Arab and finishing at the Burj Khalifa, which was great and an incredible opportunity. And then the second year, I actually went to RTA and police and said, listen, let's reverse it, because downtown by the Burj Khalifa gets extremely busy by 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And obviously the event's grown quite quickly. And they were quite happy at that opportunity and not having the roads closed in such peak areas. So we reversed it. We now start actually at the Museum of the Future, or outside the Museum of the Future in Jumeirah Emirates Towers. We run directly to the Burj Khalifa. We turn right onto what's called Al Safa. We turn right again onto Al Wasl, and take in a bit of like the old Dubai kind of vibe. So you get these beautiful, massive Burj Khalifa, the Museum of the Future. You get Emirates Towers, and you get all these beautiful buildings. Then you run into a bit of old Dubai. Then you run to the big Dubai flag and the Etihad Museum. And then you turn left onto Jumeirah Beach Road. And you got this beautiful run along the beach road all the way up over the Canal Bridge where you see the Burj Al Arab for the first time. And then we turn right at the Burj Al Arab and basically finish on the beach, on Sunset Beach, which is right by the Burj Al Arab. And yeah, it's a beautiful course. It's a very flat, fast course, with 2 bumps over the bridges. But other than that, that's pretty much the elevation of it. So it's a course that gives great opportunity for PBs and stuff like that, which I think this day and age everyone's after. So it adds that experience and that opportunity for the runners too.
Just to clarify, then, the Burj Khalifa is the tallest building in the world, or
Yes, it's the tallest building in the world at the moment. Yeah, and then
at
the
the
Burj Al
moment?
Arab. And the Burj Al Arab is only 7-star hotel in the world at the moment, from my understanding.
Yeah, that's right. So that's the famous sail-like building for those that will know the building but not necessarily know the name. So
Yeah.
2 absolutely iconic structures, and hence your company's name of World's Iconic. Very
Yeah,
good.
we'll
Yeah,
we'll
I
play on
like
words there.
absolutely. I like it. I like it. So just for people that really aren't aware of what's involved in putting a race on and wonder why they have to pay a certain amount, we're just going to delve a little bit into the costs involved in putting on races. And I was in a half marathon not long ago, and I heard someone behind say to their mate, "I can't believe I've paid £40 for this. They must be making a fortune." So it's quite important, I think, for runners everywhere to understand exactly what's involved in putting on races. So let's talk in a little bit of detail about some of the major costs. So how would you sort of, I know there's a lot of them, and I'm sure you're paying bills for weeks afterwards and weeks before, but what are your main costs that you incur when you're planning a race?
Because we're a new brand, obviously marketing for us is a big spend still, because we need to get the brand out there. We need to build the brand identity. Our brand isn't just about Dubai. It's not just about the UAE or the Middle East. It's about global awareness and trying to bring athletes from around the world to Dubai. So marketing is obviously a big play on that. Your elite athletes, obviously that's another piece, but that's not the real heart of what the event is about. I mean, I just try to think of this year's Burj to Burj, and I know that our entries don't even cover 30% of the cost of the event. Also, we got to try to keep up with the standards of Dubai. We also know, I believe that running is accessible for everyone. So we ensure that we have that price point that isn't too overpriced, that it's accessible to the different demographics that call Dubai home, and the rest that might want to travel in from around the world. So that's our number one priority is accessibility and a race for everyone. But going to the cost of the event and the key things, I think we obviously invest quite a heavy amount into our expo. Because the experience and the pre-race experiencing journey, we want people to come from around the world and be like, oh, wow, okay, this is another level event from the minute you step off the plane. And then going to the actual event side of things, I mean, just the route costs us a couple million dirhams, just activating the route and getting the route to the level of what we want. And we're still nowhere near to the level of what we want to be at. So that's one thing. Toilets on the start line, 15,000 athletes. We had 275 toilets just on the start line. That comes with a pretty hefty price tag, and that's just one aspect of it all. I'm not going into medals. I'm not going into like bags or gifts for athletes, t-shirts, medicals, probably 200,000 dirhams. I don't know, like pounds, what that is, but all these things, the road closures is I'm not even going to say numbers. It's a lot. But basically all these things add up, and it's just one of the things that we do. But also I think one of the things that makes us different is we believe in the brand we're creating, and we believe in investing in the long term of the event. So for us right now, yes, we're not making money, but we know that in the next 2, 3, 4 years, we should start seeing the return on investment. And we've made that commitment to ourselves and to our brand and to the community that we want to put on the best possible show that we can do year on year without obviously a massive bank account, because we're privately funded. We're not funded by the government. So for us, it's our money that basically builds and creates the brand from the ground up. Did that answer your
Right.
question?
Well, yeah. Let's go into some of those areas a little bit more then.
Yeah.
So obviously something like, New York Marathon, London Marathon, they've got a huge brand, the part of the World Marathon Majors, which is in itself a huge brand. So their marketing costs, and particularly because they've got so many charities involved who do a lot of the marketing for them, their marketing spend is probably not required to be that high, given where they are, how much brand equity is already there. So how
Mm.
do you go about increasing the profile of your brand? Presumably you've got to invest quite heavily in social media, advertising, and an agency involved in all the organic social media. Is social media a really, really key part? And have you got some of Dubai's famous influencers involved?
So locally, Dubai was lacking a really iconic brand to step in and take the reins. And so we saw that opportunity, and also a brand that can really activate the community. I'm a runner myself. Both my investors are runners. Pretty much our whole team's actually run the race. I'm probably the only one that hasn't run the race. For us, we so embedded in the community that a lot of our groundwork was done in the local market. In the first year, especially, like, okay, this is us. This is like a piece of video or piece of content that really captivated the heartbeat of what Burj to Burj was about. So we invest a lot of money into that first piece of content. And that first piece of content got millions of views around the world. And full disclosure, we obviously spent a bit of money on that post. But the reality is off the bat, we'll be able to set a precedence that no one's done in the region of this. This is us. This is who we are. And then once that proof of concept was done, we put the first year event on, which was, diabolical. And at my level of eventing, it was nowhere near the level of event that I wanted to put on. But then proof of concept was done. We then built to the next year. And then we took that video and we actually recreated another whole, honestly, a beautiful piece of what the brand represents and what the event represents. And we took that and really took that whole, we shot for 4 days around Dubai. And we took that and broke that up into different pieces. And highlighted different tourism sections for people traveling from around the world. So we went really granular into how we take this content and use this content to build a base for Burj to grow off, which obviously coming now, we just had our third year, which was 16,000 runners, which is obviously proof in the pudding that it's working.
And is that marketing an ongoing spend throughout the year then, or do you just focus on certain times?
Well, that's the biggest challenge. So, I mean, as we've gone, the first year we had 2 months to put the whole event on. So we didn't have much time to spend money, or we didn't have money to spend. So it's not a bad thing. But then last year we opened up, I think it was in September, October, we opened entries. So that was 4 or 5 month ramp to the event. This year we're ready to open entries now. We just literally, we're trying to show respect to the what's going on in the region and the people of the UAE by not just opening and offering this, like, being narrow-minded. We want to show respect. So we're holding back on the opening of Burj to Burj 2027. But now our challenge is, okay, we've got almost a full year, call it 9 months ramp up to the event. How do we take that spend with the visions we've got of global growth and actually put that into the correct markets and into the correct brands and assets and regions at the right time, which then opens up another whole world of, okay, cool, the marketing team now, because it's not just a one-man show, it's a whole team throughout the year that basically now has to divide. Okay, so we know that, for example, the Germans like to register early and get their entry in. So we need to target that zone or that country now. But then the South Africans, we might leave it last minute, or the Brits might be in between that. So it's really diving into the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts of what make the event and how the world works, to understand how we can really capitalize that and build our brand. I say this to my team all the time: is the minute we stop challenging ourselves or thinking out the box and trying new things is the minute we're doing a disservice to the brand, to the team, and to the community. So we constantly trying to push the limits. And yes, we get it wrong. And that's the whole point of like trying to set like a new path or try something new, is if you're not getting it wrong, you're not pushing hard enough. So yeah, it's just about growth and trying to really, just be different.
And how far in advance are you planning events? So you said you're ready to go live, but you're not because of the situation. You're ready to go live with the entry system. How far in advance are you planning? Like, now you're talking about the 2027 race. Is that route finalized, or is that ongoing while the entry process is open? And when do you start thinking about 2028, or are you already thinking about that?
So 2027 is pretty much locked up except for the route. The biggest challenge when I say locked up, like we're busy with finalizing designs of shirts and medals and all of that sort of stuff's all happening. P&Ls and stuff like that are pretty much locked up already in November, December. So we're basically taking 2026, how we tweak what we need to. So I always challenge the team, like, okay, cool. Each department, what are 5 things that you need to do better? But it's not just 5 things in operations. It's 5 things from the start, 5 things from the route, 5 things from the finish, 5 things from the aid stations, 5 things from the broadcast, 5 things from the road closures. So it ends up being a lot more than 5 things, but like really hone down on what we can improve. And then we take the budget from this year and we tailor it and tweak it. So then this is your budget set for 2027. Well, I work on by myself in November, December, January. I then sit down with the team now and we lock up, okay, what is your cost versus my cost of this? And we marry the two together and we build for 2027. So to answer your question, I would say we're still new, we're still learning. So it's only about a 10, 11 month growth to the event. But the reality is it's going to be from this year on, probably about a 14-month plan to grow and build each event year on year. It has to be. If we need to be ahead of the game. We can't be behind the game and catching up the whole time. It's not fair on the team, and it's not fair on the athletes either. We need to have a full event plan. The biggest challenge in the region, though, is obviously Dubai is growing so quickly, and the roads are changing on a daily basis. So for us to lock up a route now, we've got an overview of what we want, and we're working with RTA and police to work that route concept. But the reality is like the whole route of what we used last year or the last 2 years is pretty much changing with roadworks and making Dubai more accessible. So we have to pivot with that and work with that. So that will be, I reckon, hopefully by the 6 months out, we'll have a full route approved. But that is an ongoing with RTA and police and honestly just respecting the government's processes and systems and working with them, not against them.
Yeah, so you're having to change the route because Dubai's infrastructure is changing, basically.
Constantly. Even, I mean, the second year of the event, a week before the event, we got forced to move our start from the Burj Khalifa, basically a kilometer away to another whole area. And all of those logistics operations, like, we calculated this year, we believe there are over 200,000 moving parts just for the start line of Burj to Burj.
God, that's incredible. Yeah, it's a stressful world, isn't it? Event management, not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. Just talk to us a little bit about the elite athletes. You mentioned them earlier on and mentioned them as a cost. How important are elite athletes to you and to the wider event world? Because a lot of runners go, well, why do you spend all that money bringing those guys over and then you pay them prize money? Why do you need them?
That's a great question and something I honestly was asking myself up to this year's event. Like I said, we're a new brand. So the first year we hardly had any elites and it's a lot of money. Like it's $1 million is basically what we invest into the elites for Burj to Burj. So that it's a chunk out of our budget. But this year we really saw the value of bringing elites to the region, to the event. And we had an incredibly stacked male and female event. We had a very exciting male and female race where we had like Joshua Sambur, we had Alphonse Sambur, we had Joshua Cheptegei, we had Nicholas come to the race. So we had 3 of the world's top runners come take part in Burj to Burj. And what that did is the publicity, the awareness around that it brought to the brand. Because like I said, our goal is global awareness. It's not just the Middle East. We believe that there's a limited amount of people that live in the UAE or in the Middle East that can run a half marathon. So yes, we're growing that in the background, but the reality is we've got to rely on international athletes. And that, just having those athletes here made it honestly so worthwhile this year, which I never thought I would say, honestly.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And so for you, it really is profile. If you were a smaller race focused on a very defined local market, you wouldn't bother bringing elites in. It's about the bigger picture.
Yeah, honestly, it definitely is. And I think is there a world where we have a race where we don't worry about bringing elites and stuff like that down the line? I don't know. I think it's also good to give back to the sport, because the reality is these are the people that really pioneer and lead the way for all of us to follow. So it's almost like a matter of respect to the sport, having elite athletes as well. That's my personal opinion on it. But yeah, the cost for bringing versus the reward, 50-50, but I think it's definitely worthwhile if you can get the right elites and put on the right show for the elites, because that's one thing that we really stepped up this year, is that show, that experience for the elites. We had kids sitting there with Joshua Cheptegei and his Olympic gold medal, taking selfies and signing autographs, to kids races, press conferences. So we really used the elites as part of that event experience pre-race, which really paid off.
So the costs involved obviously are flights and accommodation, and it's often not just the runner, is it? That can come with a manager or an agent or whatever. So right, okay. So it's not just a single person, is it? It's quite a commitment when you decide you want a certain elite. Let's talk a little bit about something we haven't mentioned, which is insurances. And obviously, the world of COVID has changed events massively, and a lot of events didn't have cover during that awful period. Talk us through your insurance situation and changes for this year.
Yeah, look, this year was obviously a very unique situation. When I say unique, so every event in the Middle East or the UAE has to have public liability, which covers someone if something minor happens and there's an injury or death or something like that. It helps cover the event and those costs. But proper event cancellation is something that hasn't really been used. And to be fully honest with you, this is the first year we've done it. And we received news that the conflict in the Middle East was about to kick up the week of Burj to Burj. So we were actually expecting like that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something to happen. So we quickly scrambled to get cancellation insurance. But then the journey of cancellation insurance opened up another whole world, because the reality is everyone's cool. Yeah, we'll cover your event for cancellation. Oh, but by the way, war or terrorism or whatever is not included. So we then had to go down this world of, and you can imagine every conversation is, okay, here's a little bit more, please, to have this cancellation. Oh, we need this and a little more, please, to have that cancellation. So financially, it ended up being a pretty big investment from our side to get the cancellation. But I think from our brand now, because we are stepping up into the world of, we want 25,000 people on the start line next year. And that's going from 15,000. So for us, we're into the world now where we have to start doing this as a must, and it's part of our P&L now moving forward for every event, because it's just not worth having to pay back. And our brand is about people first and athlete first. So if something happened, it's not a question of like, do we pay the athletes back? It's like, how do we pay these athletes back? How do we make this as fair for the athletes as possible? And that's the journey. We're literally in the meetings having, like, with my investors, like, okay, cool, what is the current situation? How do we pay these athletes back if we don't get the cancellation? Thank goodness it didn't get to that. And we got the event cancellation where everything would have been covered. But it's an interesting journey to be on, and it's not a cheap journey to be on.
Yeah, so it's a lot of entry fees, isn't it? A lot of runner entry fees.
It's a lot of entry fees, a couple thousand.
Wow, gosh. Now, one of the most visible parts or the most memorable parts for a lot of runners is what they get at the finish, what the finish area is like, but also what's the medal like and what's the T-shirt like. So obviously that has changed so dramatically when I first started doing races. But the quality of medals now is improved, and t-shirts has improved dramatically. I had piles of t-shirts that were cotton that were just dreadful, whereas now the standard, they're all proper running tops. The medals are amazing quality. How far in advance do you order that stuff? And how on earth do you get the quantities right? Because obviously you're not going to know the exact field. Can you order and then do top-up orders nearer the time?
Yes, you can to a certain extent. We're very fortunate to have partnered with ASICS last year, and ideally we're in the negotiation stage now for moving forward with ASICS again. And we're in the process. First and foremost, we're ordering now for 2027. They've got actually a 12-month leeway or ramp up to it. So we ideally November, December this year we'll start building for 2028 already in the shirts and stuff like that. Medals is a little bit later on. You probably got a 3-month leeway for that, I would say. But the biggest challenge is, and this is a debate I have, like I've obviously through putting events on for pretty much my whole life. Like I have a lot of discussions with other event organizers about how they handle it. For me, the experience is first and foremost. But then the other side of what I really want to achieve is I want to become one of the most sustainable events in the world in the years to come. And we've got certain things that will activate and start making that a reality as we grow. But if I want 15,000 people on the start line, I will never order less than 15,000 medals. I'll never order less than 15,000 shirts, because an athlete coming from London, New York, I mean, we literally had the whole entire globe, that basic bits and pieces of the whole entire globe that came over to Burj this year. If we have someone coming from one of those countries and we don't have their exact shirt size, or we don't have a medal for them, that user journey, that experience is terrible. We need, for me, that is a non-negotiable. If our goal is 25,000, we will order 25,000 shirts next year. If our goal is 25,000 athletes, we will order 25,000 medals. But then the other flip side of that is, and now this is going, I digress a bit here, but I actually had a lady come up to me and we had I think you got about 7 items in your race bag this year at Burj, from sunblocks to Morton gels to bars and Corona Ceros to like the t-shirt, like a whole bunch of stuff in the bag. And a lady came up to me and said, like, but why are you giving us so little? People don't realize that we're no longer 4,000, 3,000 people, which is every other event in the region. We are 15,000 people. For most brands, to give 15,000 free samples is not possible. So that whole world and that whole journey, that's 15,000 of everything. So we make sure we cover the board of what we sell is what we have in stock.
No, God, that sounds like a pretty decent finisher's bag to me. I've had way worse than that, that's for sure. How important are sponsors to you? Not just in putting together a decent goodie bag at the end, but also obviously in water supply or energy drinks on the course, or just hard cash in terms of being a title sponsor or a support sponsor. And it's a pretty tough world, isn't it? Getting sponsorship at the minute.
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. Look, I mean, we're in our 3rd year of the event. We haven't had a title partner. In the first year, we had Emirates MBD who came on board and helped us with a bit of cash for the first year, thank goodness, but nowhere near enough to cover like anything close to what we needed. We have to rely on partners, and I take my hat off to my team for this, because the first year we had pretty much nothing. The second year we started getting, we built a bit of traction. And last year we really had like an incredible showing of some really nice, iconic and international brands. Still no title partner. We ideally in the process of signing that in the next couple. It was meant to be this month, but obviously with the conflicts in the region, everything's been put on hold, and hopefully it won't affect the long-term journey of the partnership. But it's critical. We got to find the money to pay for the event somewhere. Like events, they are extremely expensive, and you don't make it from entries, honestly. But also we're very strict in the fact that we're not just going to ramp up the entries by another 100, 200 dirhams, because that is not for the athletes. I'm a firm believer that if a partner wants to be a part of the event, they need to help pay for that experience of the athletes, because we're offering you so much more than just an event. it's that whole journey of the athlete, that touch point. And we really spend a lot of time focusing on that partner's journey, of how we intertwine it into the athlete's journey, and find out what are the KPIs of our partners, what are the KPIs of us, and how does that fit in the athlete's journey. So yeah, it's fun. It's all the dance.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good that you've raised that, and this is obviously common with most events, that the entry fee does not cover the operational costs, and I think
Yeah,
most runners do not know that. They assume that you know the fee they're paying is pretty much, there's an element of profit in that to the organizer, but it isn't. It isn't like that at all. It's about sponsors, it's about government support, it's about all manner of different revenue streams, and
yeah,
yeah, the entry fee is a part of it, but certainly never going to be the bulk of it. That's for sure. Um,
yeah.
Warwick, that's been really interesting. I'm sure there's obviously so many elements to race organisation that we haven't talked about, and loads of other costs that we haven't talked about. And you probably don't particularly want to talk about, but I really appreciate you coming on, particularly with things as they are at the moment over there. And it sounds like you've got an incredible event, and we'd love to have another podcast with you just to see how things are going.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tim. I really appreciate the time, and yeah, I appreciate you reaching out and giving Burj to Burj and World's Iconic a bit of love. It's exciting times.
Yeah,
As a jet flies over my head.
It's never a dull moment over there at the moment, is there? But no, we appreciate your time.
Thanks for listening to this Sapphire Running Zone podcast. Keep checking back as we have lots more podcasts coming soon.